Every so often, a handful of artists do something rare. They turn raw, unpolished, almost messy mark making into some of the most talked about art on the planet. Auction houses fight over their paintings. Galleries have waiting lists that stretch for years. Collectors from New York to Hong Kong are paying huge sums of money for work that, at first glance, looks like it was made in a hurry. This is not an accident. It's a real shift from what the art world values right now, and it's happening in real time. Today, on the Contemporary Art Canvas, we are counting down 12 artists leading that shift. Some of them grew up on the streets of Abidjan, some trained as painters in East Germany, under the watchful eye of the state. Others never went to art school at all and simply taught themselves to paint at home. What connects them is not one single style, but a shared energy, fast brushwork, bold color, and a refusal to make anything look too neat or too safe. By the end of this video, you will know who is dominating the contemporary art market today, what makes their work stand out, and why collectors are willing to pay the prices they are paying for it. Stick around because number one might surprise you. Let's get into it.
Szabolcs Bozó. Szabolcs Bozó was born in Hungary and now works from a studio in London. He never went to art school. Instead, he taught himself to paint, and it shows in the way he walks, loose, fast, and full of childlike imagination. His paintings are usually huge, filled with oversized cartoonish creatures. Some look like animals, others look like something out of a dream, part monsters, part toy. He does not use fine brushes or careful blending. Instead, he works with oil sticks, lets the paint stain the canvas, and sometimes even leaves footprint behind. The result looks unfinished, almost accidental, but that is the point. In just a few years, Bozó has gone from an unknown painter to one of the most collected young artists working today. His auction prices have climbed quickly, and collectors say they are drawn to the honesty of his work. Nothing about it feels precious. It feels like a play. Critics place him inside a wider return to raw, expressive painting, a reaction against art that feels overly clean or overly conceptual. For now, Bozó's giant, playful creatures are some of the hottest works changing hands in contemporary art. Bernhardt. Katherine Bernhardt is an American painter known for taking ordinary, everyday objects and blowing them up into huge, brightly colored paintings. Think phone cases, cigarettes, snacks, food, and cartoon characters repeated again and again across giant canvases. Her technique is quick and loose. She works with thin acrylic paint and spray paint directly on raw, unprimed canvas, letting the colors bleed and drip. Nothing is corrected or cleaned up. The patterns repeat almost like wallpaper, but the effect feels intense rather than decorative. Her subject matter comes straight from consumer culture, the products, brands, and the images that surround us every day. By repeating them obsessively, she turns ordinary things into something that feels overwhelming to look at. That connection to modern life, combined with her fast, expressive painting style, has made her a favorite with major collections and institutions. Her work sells for large sums at auction, and she is widely seen as one of the artists who helped bring loose, expressive painting back into fashion. Bernhardt shows that art does not need a complicated concept to succeed. Painting the things we see every day, boldly and without apology, has been enough to build a serious art career. Aboudia. Aboudia is a painter from Ivory Coast who splits his time between the city of Abidjan and New York. His paintings are loud, busy and packed with details, and they draw directly from the streets where he grew up. He builds his paintings in layers. Oil sticks, acrylic paints, newspaper clippings, and other collected materials are combined on the canvases to create thick, textured surfaces. On top of this, he paints wide-eyed faces and crowds of figures, all rendered in quick, urgent lines. His style is often linked to graffiti and to a street culture in Abidjan known as Nouchi. The energy of that world, fast, rough, and unfiltered, comes through clearly in his work. His paintings do not try to look polished or comfortable. They reflect real life in his home city, including its struggles and its youth culture, without softening anything. That honesty has made him one of the most in-demand African contemporary artists working today. Museums and private collectors around the world are now competing for his work, and he is widely recognized as a leading voice bringing African street life into a global contemporary art conversation. A.R. Penck. A.R. Penck was a German painter who became one of the most important figures in 20th century art. He developed his style in East Germany, where artists were closely watched by the state, and where showing certain kinds of work could get you into serious trouble. To get around this, Penck created a simple coded visual language. He used bold black stick figures and basic symbols, almost like cave paintings or mathematical signs, to say things that could not be said directly. On the surface, the work looks simple. Underneath, it often carries messages about conflict, power, and control. This stripped-down style became his signature. Instead of detailed figures, Penck painted symbols that anyone could recognize. But that carried much deeper meaning once you understood the world he was working in. Penck eventually left East Germany, and his reputation grew across the West. Decades later, his paintings remain highly valued. Museums treat him as one of the founding figures of the Neo-Expressionist movement, and collectors continue to pay high prices for his work at auction. His story is a reminder that some of the most powerful art comes from the simplest marks, made under the hardest conditions. Daniel Richter. Daniel Richter is a German painter who did not start out in fine art at all. He began his career designing artwork for the punk rock music scene before moving into painting, and that background still shapes how he works today. His paintings are large, dramatic, and often shows crowds of glowing figures caught in tense, chaotic scenes. He mixes bright, almost unnatural neon colors with darker backgrounds, creating images that feel urgent, as if something important is about to happen. Richter moves easily between styles within a single painting. Parts look carefully drawn and realistic, other parts dissolve into loose, messy brushwork. This mix gives his paintings a restless, anxious energy that many viewers connect with modern life. He often paints subjects tied to history, politics, and conflict, but without making the work feel like a lecture. The paintings pull viewers in through drama or color first, and the deeper meaning comes after. This combination, serious subject matter delivered with punk rock energy, has made Richter one of the most respected painters in Germany, with his work regularly selling for high prices at major auctions. Sandro Chia. Sandro Chia is an Italian painter who helped lead a movement called Transavanguardia, which brought expressive figurative painting back into fashion in Italy during the late 1970s and 1980s. At a time when many artists were moving away from painting altogether, Chia and others in this movement pushed it firmly back into the spotlight. His paintings usually feature large muscular figures painted in bold, swelling colors. He draws heavily on art history, borrowing ideas from classical mythology and early European painting movements, then reworks them in a bright, energetic modern style. The figures in his work often appear caught mid-movement, wrestling, floating, or straining against each other, surrounded by intense glowing color. The overall effect feels physical, close to old master painting than a minimalist or conceptual art. Chia's work helped prove that traditional, expressive painting still had a place in contemporary art, even as much as the art world was pushing towards newer, more experimental forms. Decades later, his paintings remain a fixture in major museums and private collections, and he is still considered one of the key figures who kept expressive figure painting alive. David Salle is an American painter who rose to prominence in New York during the 1980s at a time when the art world was becoming obsessed with media and image overload. His work reflects that shift directly. Instead of painting a single, clear subject, Salle layers multiple images on top of each other in the same canvas. A painted figure might sit beside a cartoon, a fragment of advertising, or an abstract pattern, all combined in one composition. Nothing is meant to tell a simple story. The viewer is left to make sense of the different pieces themselves. This layered collage-like approach mirrors how people experience images today, pulled from television, magazines, and advertising all at once. Salle was one of the first painters to capture that feeling on canvas. His work is often described as intellectual, and it demands more attention from viewers than a straightforward painting might. Rather than offering easy answers, it asks questions about how to process the flood of images around us. That approach has secured Salle's place as one of the most important American painters of his generation, with his work held in major museum collections around the world. Robert Nava. Robert Nava is an American painter based in Brooklyn, and in a short space of time, he has become one of the most talked about names in contemporary art. His paintings deliberately avoid looking polished, and that rough, unfinished quality is central to his appeal. He paints fast, often while listening to loud techno music, using spray paint, acrylics, and grease pencils. His subjects include dragons, two-headed dogs, and other imaginary creatures, drawn in a style that looks almost childlike, similar to doodles or early attempts at drawing. Nava keeps smudges, stray marks, and mistakes visible in the final work rather than covering them up. This is intentional. He is chasing speed and instinct over careful technique, and that rawness is exactly what has made collectors take notice. His paintings regularly sell for far more than their estimate at auction, a sign of just how much in demand there is for his work. Nava's rise reflects a wider shift in the art market, towards works that feels immediate and instinctive rather than carefully finished, and he's currently one of the clearest examples of that trend. Miguel Barceló. Miguel Barceló is a Spanish artist widely regarded as one of the most important living painters from Spain. He works across painting, sculpture, and ceramics, and became internationally known during the 1980s. What makes his paintings distinctive is what he puts into them. Barceló mixes sand, volcanic ash, and other natural materials directly into thick layers of paint, building up surfaces that look closer to rock, mud, or a seabed than the traditional painted canvas. He often carves directly into the thick material while it is still workable, giving his depictions of animals, landscapes, and human figures a raw physical texture you can almost feel just by looking at them. This hands-on, material-heavy approach sets him apart from painters who work with flat color and smooth surfaces. His work feels closer to something built or dug up than something simply painted. Barceló's paintings and sculptures now sell for millions of dollars at auction, and his work is held in major museums across Europe and the United States. He remains one of the most respected and highest valued living artists working today. Francesco Clemente. Francesco Clemente is an Italian artist, and like Sandro Chia, one of the key figures in the trans-avant-garde movement that revived expressive painting in Italy. Unlike many artists tied to one city, Clemente has spent much of his career moving between Italy, India, and New York, and that global outlook shows clearly in his work. His paintings often focus on the human body and self-portraiture, rendered in watercolor, oil, and pastel. The figures are soft, sometimes almost dreamlike, and often blends ideas from Eastern philosophy and mythology with more personal, introspective subject matter. Compared to some of the louder, more chaotic painters working today, Clemente's work is quieter. It relies on mood and atmosphere rather than bold color or aggressive brushwork, but it carries just as much emotional weight. His paintings continue to sell well at major auctions, and his decades-long career is regularly featured in exhibitions at leading galleries and museums around the world. Miriam Cahn. Miriam Cahn is a Swiss artist who has been painting for decades, but it is only in recent years that her work has received major international recognition with large exhibitions at top museums and galleries. Her paintings are direct and at times difficult to look at. She often walks on the floor applying oil paints and pastel with her bare hands rather than brushes. This creates glowing, blurred figures that seem to float against harsh, sometimes uncomfortable neon backgrounds. Cahn does not shy away from difficult subjects. Her paintings deal with war, violence, refugees, and the human body, often shown in vulnerable or exposed positions. The work is intentionally uncomfortable to look at because the subjects she paints are uncomfortable realities. This directness is exactly why her work has found such a strong audience recently. Collectors and institutions are increasingly drawn to art that confronts difficult subjects head-on, rather than looking away from it. Cahn's rising market prices reflect that shift in taste. She is now considered one of the most important living painters addressing vulnerability, conflict, and the human body in contemporary art. Jordy Kerwick. Jordy Kerwick is a self-taught Australian painter now based in France, and his career is one of the fastest rises in recent contemporary art history. He had no formal art training and only started painting seriously as an adult, yet within a few years his work has been collected internationally. His paintings are packed with pattern and detail, featuring bold, flattened depictions of animals such as tigers, cobras, and unicorns, often combined with leopard prints, decorative patterns, and still life objects. He built these images using thick oil paint, enamel, and spray paint, sometimes adding collage elements too. Kerwick does not try to hide mistakes or rough edges in his work. Instead, he leaves them visible, treating imperfections as part of the finished piece rather than something to correct. His style blends folk art and ancient animal symbolism with a more modern, domestic feel, as though old myths have been placed inside a contemporary living room. That mix of the ancient and the everyday has made his work instantly recognizable, and it continues to attract strong demand from collectors, cementing his place among the most closely watched painters working in contemporary art today.
That's the countdown. 12 painters, 12 completely different backgrounds, all connected by one thing: raw, honest, unpolished energy that the art world can't get enough of right now. Which one of these artists caught your eyes the most? Drop their name in the comments below. And if you want more videos ranking the biggest names in the contemporary art world, hit the subscribe button. Don't miss the next one.